Thursday. Happy second Thursday of the month. That's why we're here, to do some live painting and to just relax and have a chat and maybe zone out for a minute. If you want to paint with me, that would be cool. Whatever you want. But yeah, I'm gonna paint some mushrooms. I've already done the base for it so far. I did it a little bit earlier to allow it to dry, which it doesn't take that long, but to allow it to dry before I start putting in more of the detail and background and stuff like that. So I pretty much just use water mixed with whatever color that I choose, and then make a wash of it. So I thin it out and just make it really light, as you can see for some of the mushrooms in the background. They're kind of shiny. And then let that layer dry, and then you can start layering on top, you know, in the meantime. So make sure you let it dry though. If you don't let the layers dry in between, it's just gonna get all muddied and shit and look horrible. This is one I did earlier. You might have seen it on here or on Instagram or Facebook. So that was super fun. So yeah, if I would have not let those layers dry in between, it would have looked wretched, just horrible. So I love mushrooms. I love mushroom hunting. I don't know a ton about the names and which ones you can eat and all of that, but funny enough, I finished a drawing the other day of Miss Black Forager, Alexis Nicole. If you know of her, I follow her on Instagram. I don't have TikTok or anything, but she will give you all the information on mushrooms and what you can eat and everything in the forest, what you can and can't eat. I mean, she's so knowledgeable and such a bright light. And so she was an inspiration for a drawing I did the other day, and I posted that up. But yeah, don't come to me for the what you can eat and what you can't eat as far as the mushrooms go, because I would refer you back to her page or just Google in general. But I've always loved mushrooms. I love taking pictures of mushrooms. I love taking mushrooms every now and then. But the different forms and varieties and colors and shapes and I was gonna say fabrics. Yeah, not fabrics. Consistencies, you know. There's another word I'm looking for, but you get what I'm saying. I found one the other day. So when I walk my dog in the morning, Tarragon, I go mushroom hunting and take pictures in the morning because there's usually a bunch of mushrooms like on our walk, and new ones every day along the same sidewalk that we walk. And so I love taking pictures and seeing what's new out there. There was one the other day called the Devil's Dipstick. Bro, fucking what a name, first off, right? But it was bright orange. I was even questioning when I saw it that it was a mushroom or not, because it looked like some kind of weird slug covered in some bright orange, like a bright orange coat or something. I don't know, it was crazy. So of course, let's see. Oh, I didn't have my camera at that time to take pictures of it, because every now and then I don't take it with me because we go running and it's just a pain to try to have it. Not all my pants have pockets and stuff. So anyways, so I went back out there later, and luckily it was still there, but it had gotten stepped on or something. But I still got a couple good pictures of it, and man, that shit was weird. It for sure looked like a slug. I never did look up if it was edible or not. You guys probably know. Oh, my lights just flashed. But that was one of the craziest ones I've seen in real life. There's even crazier ones that I've seen online and on documentaries and stuff that I've watched about them. So it's just pretty cool. So part of my point of that was how the mushroom painting came along. I've painted lots of mushrooms over the years, but these types of paintings partly came along also because I do a lot of spiritual work and energy reading and stuff like that, and especially with and on myself to release any old thought patterns or energies, try to just level up and be the best version of me that I can, right? So with my art, I think I mentioned it in some of the videos before, but I had gotten pretty rigid and a bit stagnant about how I even created anything, because I would go into it with the same mindset of I have to do it one way and this is the process and that's it, and it put my creativeness in this little box that really was a box, and it just kept me kind of stuck for a bit and not really flowing and creating like I wanted to. I tended to do a lot of things in a process that I would do for a tattoo, because as most of you know, I'm a tattoo artist. I've been a tattoo artist for a long time. So that, those habits of that trade and that career, have kind of put me in the habit of drawing things in a certain way and having, the sketch, do it with the outline, straighten up the outline, and then color it, and that's it, right? So in my last this recent transformation of what I've went through with, I've talked about on my channel with the other videos I've posted with the little readings and the spiritual stuff that I do if you've watched them, but just to do with the moon and releasing and setting really healthy boundaries for yourself and saying no to yourself and all kinds of things and people and situations that, overworking even, that you don't want to feel obligated to do. You know what I'm saying? So me recognizing finally, of just familial stuff or society or whatever, things that you hear, as I say, growing up, just even on TV, of certain ways that you think things have to be, or that you're supposed to be obligated to do certain things or have contact with certain people, that just because they are, in your family or whatever, if they're just they're not nice to you, if they're not a nice person, if they're, if they've done you wrong or abused you or are very abusive, you don't have to speak to them. You don't have to have contact with them. It's a misconstruement. Is that the right word? That just because somebody is maybe been your friend for a long time or they're your family, that you have to have contact with them. And so that's not true. And including whatever, put it to not even people, put it to job situations, old jobs even. If you're not happy in your career and what you're doing, it's up to you to really make that change and to make sure that you're switching things up as you need to, because it's nobody's job but yours to put up healthy boundaries and to make sure that people are respecting your time, and that you're respecting your time, that you're not out here, like as I said, if you're not respecting your time, maybe you had something planned, but then at the last minute somebody comes and asks you for help that, maybe says they're your friend but isn't much of a friend to you, and you drop what you were doing and had already planned for yourself to go help that person, and then, they end up, leaving you stranded on the side of the road, say, like. But that's where it comes in the healthy boundaries and taking care of yourself, of where, it's not selfish to say, no, I already have something going on, I can't help you, or just realizing you're not a bad person if you're saying no to somebody that needs help from you that maybe isn't worthy of your help, So I'm just trying to get into the more flow of life, which I have been, I think, pretty well. I'm quite happy with the adjustments I've made, but part of it is creating differently, getting some new neural pathways going, doing just some different things. So I have some neuroplasticity, new word that I've learned. I've heard it before, but I haven't really used it much, especially not as much as I've been using it lately. But it just creates new neural pathways in your brain that, literally will create new pathways in your life because it's all correlated together, your inner reality to your outer reality, right? As soon as you start to try new things and do new things, or just do things in a different way each day, maybe try, you know, to work out before breakfast or do breakfast before work, or you know what I'm saying, just anything that's a bit different that you can alter a bit that you wouldn't normally do, that kind of shakes up your normal routine, something even that you've maybe been wanting to do and you think you, I don't know, don't have time for it, or that it's silly to go do. Trust me, it's not. Maybe you just want to sit down and play the trumpet again, or make some jewelry. You know what I mean? That's not a silly thing to go do. It's not a waste of time. That's something your inner child is crying out for and wants to go do and needs to go do. And you'll be quite surprised at how much better you feel if you try that. And it really will open some new pathways in your brain. So, painting the mushrooms in the way that I have been and experimenting a little bit, it's been quite fun and enjoyable, and I'm really liking the results of it. So I encourage you to maybe go do something similar. Excuse me. Jeez. Just came in from taking Tarragon out back for a bit before I started painting, and I don't know what I have on today that the mosquitoes are liking. Sometimes I can go outside and the mosquitoes don't bother me, and then other times I go outside like today and it's like them and all their ancestors started attacking me at once. So I have like 43,700 bites on my right arm and like, you know, 3 bites on my left arm, and then each leg is bit up a little bit. So they just went ham. I wasn't out there too long either, so if you see me getting a little itchy, that's why, fuckers. I really don't like murdering things, but man, I'll fucking murder a mosquito in a hot second. It goes with these little palmetto bugs and roaches they got around here too. I don't play that shit. So if you've never done watercolor before, there's a few ways you can do it. I mean, there's never one perfect way or right way or whatever. It's however your, you know, process is to do it. That's cool. There's a few. I've seen quite a few. I've done quite a few depending on how you're using it. Like I said, more loosely like this, or if you're doing it more in a way that's, you know, more solid, like cartoony or comic book like maybe. But for this type of stuff, I like to get the paper wet, or this is watercolor board actually, which is my favorite thing to paint on. So get it a little bit wet, and like I said, just throw some color in there and mess with it and flow with it a little bit, and yeah, see what you come up with. Again, so I like how that's a little splotchy with the pinks and purples, right? If I don't leave that dry right now before I go put some more in there, it's just gonna get all muddied and fucked up looking. So we're gonna leave that alone for a minute. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. If you've been here before, I've seen any of my other videos, I appreciate it. Let me know if you've seen, you know, my butterfly videos or my art videos or my spiritual, my reading videos. If you're only here for one or the other, or you've not seen any of them, I'm just curious to know, that's all. I love watching the paint spread once you lay the water out. I have a website that these will be available on for purchase as originals. If you guys are interested, it's dragonqueen.ink, I-N-K, like tattoo ink. And if you don't want to get a tattoo, or you don't see any art that you would want yet, I do have a Patreon, Dragon Queen Creations. You can go check out my little tiers I got so far. One of them is that I'll draw you as kind of a stylized, cartoony-ish version of you, and you're writing your favorite animal, or if you want to do that for your grandkids or kids, you know. On my YouTube channel already, I do have a couple videos where you can see where I've done that for some friends of mine and what the end product was, you know, for them. So if you guys want to go check that out, and if you're interested, you can go to my Patreon and check that check that out, like I said, and support me there if you like. So I don't have outlines when I draw these. I just, again, go with the flow and picture, kind of either check out some reference pictures of mushrooms or obviously the ones that I've taken pictures of. But these aren't necessarily all perfectly real, accurate mushrooms. They're just something I'm having fun with. And I encourage you, again, to do the same with whatever childlike thing you need to be doing right now. That could even be coloring in a coloring book. As silly as some of you may think that is, it is not when it's to do with your inner health and your mental health and your, stagnancy in life, and, very, very much more important than you would think it is, so. If anybody is commenting, I'm not ignoring you, I just can't see them. So if anything needs to be answered, I will do that when I'm done. Oh, isn't that sweet? My dog came to help with putting one of his hairs in there. So sweet of him. He's the best, really. Trying to create the look of this Rachar being like back deep in the background, you know what I mean? So I'll be putting layers to make it a bit darker and darker, kind of coming out of that to create some depth. And some creepy crawly places in the mushroom forest, naturally. Found a brush shaped like this. Comes in extra handy because I can use that little tip there for the thin lines, but obviously I have the bigger brush part too if I need, which is pretty convenient. So if you're interested maybe in doing some watercolor, whatever brush this is works really well. I don't even think it's an expensive brush. I think it's one of those cheap Walmart ones. I might have even had it since I was a teenager. I probably still have crayons from when I was in elementary school. Seriously. Well. So you can start to see the depth getting created. Even I haven't filled that in yet, and you can see that it's already a behind, you know what I mean? So, I like that. I like that. And let whatever texture you're creating be created, you know. Don't try to necessarily do stuff on purpose, you know. Just know that you want it darker there and lighter there, and you want it some greens. Try not to be too specific with it if you're just painting to paint. I don't know, I'm getting the feeling some of you guys are really frustrated with life and having a hard time seeing the good or the fun or, you know, being happy about what you have going on. Number one, I promise you, if you change your perspective, I know you're probably sick of hearing that, if that is your mindset right now, but I promise you what you think about and focus on really comes to you. So try not to wake up and start thinking about bills and start thinking about what you have to do today and just putting yourself in an automatic shit mode, you know what I mean? Wake up and really, really sit in the feeling that you're blessed to be alive, because you are. You have another chance to change things, to create, to play, to love, to learn. You know, you can change your circumstances in your situation. I promise you can. But you have to have a strong enough mindset and boundaries with yourself and with other people to be able to, you know, get done what you need to do in life for yourself. It's not selfish to say, yo, I'm not doing shit like that anymore. I gotta switch it up. I don't think like that. I don't talk like that. I'm not doing the same activities. If somebody wants to be mad at you for trying to better yourself, then they're not for you. Like I was saying in my video yesterday, good old Dr. Seuss, right? If they, what is it? If if they matter, they don't mind, and if they mind, they don't matter. That's not the full quote, but you already know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't want... There's a lot of enough grumpy ass people walking around, and if I can help you change your perspective a little bit and know that things can really change and be better, really be better, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean shit's not gonna happen in life and you're not gonna have to go through some frustrations and headaches and whatever, but you know, some of us are taking on way more than we need to take on, much more than we can chew, thinking we have to, thinking we're obligated, thinking, oh, well, that's what society says I must do, so that is what I must do. What, are you a fucking robot? You know what I mean? No, bro. You have your own way of thinking. You have your own mindset. And that's what it's there for. Don't be... I just covered up that mushroom. That's okay. Don't be controlled about... Don't be controlled. And think that life is about you living in some box and waking up and going to work and doing what somebody else tells you to do all day and going home and sleeping and getting up and repeating. Sounds like that old ass movie Groundhog Day. You guys remember that shit? Ugh. I don't even like watching that movie because of the repetitiveness of it. You know what I mean? Like, jeez. I think that's part of the reason I moved so much. I have moved so much in my life. To switch up the scenery and just change it up a little bit. I love my hometown, but I could never live there again. It's just, you know, the way that the energy is up there and the mindsets and how people, it's just, you know, I love you guys. Not you, it's not you guys, but you know what I'm saying? Just my loved ones, of course, but you know what I mean. Just the environment and just the way things are run, and I don't know. It's not as uplifting as it should be. Not as supporting as it should be. And it's not just where I'm from, you know, there's other places that I've lived that just, it's just doesn't resonate well, you know what I mean? And if somewhere's not for you, know that you can pick up and move. You have feet. You're not a tree. Shit. From some of the videos I've seen recently, apparently trees be getting up and walking around too. Some of the the ghosty, creepy videos that I watch online. But anyway, I don't know. If anybody's here, I hope you guys are having a good time and painting with me, or just watching me, or just listen to me blabber upon this beautiful Thursday night. I have some appointments available at the shop for tattoos at the end of August, I believe, and a few in September. So if you guys, I don't know if you knew if I did tattoos or not, but I do. You can check out my portfolio at Dragon Queen Creations on Instagram. Just has little underscores in between the words, or on my website I told you about earlier, dragonqueen.ink, INK. So. So yeah, see again how I overlaid that pink where the greens and the blues and yellows were. If I wouldn't have let that dry, then that, see that little, I don't know, design, or, you know, the little marks back there, they wouldn't have stayed, you know, and I wouldn't have that definition back there. It would have just been, again, all muddled together and look like shit. So don't do that to yourself if you're watercoloring. Have some patience, let that shit dry. Work on a couple of them if you have to, if you keep fucking it up. That's what I always feel like I'm gonna do with oil paints, because they take a minute to dry. I always feel like I'm gonna stick my arm right in it. No, not feel like, I've done that before quite a few times, so I think that scared me from doing it again, though I really want to pick up oil paints again and check them out. I've only messed with them a couple times, so. Alright. I never know quite how long to make these videos. Just long enough for you to sit here and zone out for a minute, I guess, and kill some time, or learn something, or roll your eyes at me, or whatever. Whatever you want to do, man. It's your life. But I'm not going to sit here and do the whole thing tonight here on video. We'll be here for a few hours, and I got to work tomorrow, so. Oh, and I got a date, so also that. But it'd be literally you guys sitting here watching paint dry. And we're not gonna do that tonight. Maybe another night we'll do that together, but not tonight. The color of it, the texture of it. Make sure you put some texture in there. I always use whatever I can around me for texture. Like I said, this brush has been working pretty well for what I want it to do for everything, so. But I've used a toothbrush before, of course the napkin, you know, the paper towels crumpled up, that's old school, everybody knows that. But anything around me that could make some type of a texture or put some kind of depth to it or whatever, I'll mess with it and add it and, you know, see what we think. Sometimes it looks horrendous, and most of the time it looks pretty cool, I would say, so. You can let your mind wander and kind of do some fantasy imagination stuff too with inner child type. What I was saying about letting yourself paint and just not think about the process too much, just start painting. Don't use outlines or anything, but like what I do is kind of try to picture what world they'd be in, right? Like what would these mushrooms be doing? Are they super small mushrooms? Are they big mushrooms? You know, do they have all the interconnecting webbing on them? Do they have those little skirt things? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of come out the bottom on some of them, which I love those little things. Like, you know what I mean? But now I want to draw one, so, you know, them little guys. Does it have those little guys on it? Are they little fat mushrooms? Are they big skinny mushrooms? One of my favorite parts about the mushroom is the underneath of it. So I always love showing them little underneath lines and shit. So technical with my vocab, I know. Underneath lines and shit, because I'm sure that's the scientific name for them. A little skirt on this one here. Maybe I add a little skirt to a couple of the other ones. But I have to wait. I need to let it dry a little bit before I do that. Start messing it up. See these blues. See if I can get a nice colorful shadow around these guys. See how that looks. Sometimes I try to do something and it doesn't work out like I wanted it to, but it works out in another way, which is indicative of how life goes also, especially if you're patient. You can literally diffuse a situation with patience. You can calm a whole room down with patience. Like, there's much power in having patience and not reacting to things and letting things get you all riled up and people get you all riled up and, you know, situations. That's old ways of thinking. We're past that now, you guys. So you have to be the example in the room, right? Like me and my cousin Duran were talking the other day. We have the best talks. We talked for like 2 hours, which is crazy. I'm never on the phone that long. And you know, he was talking about you don't go in the room looking for that person to brighten the room or to look to for guidance or to, you know, you be that person. You be the light. You be that powerful, beautiful energy that walks in and people are drawn to. Don't look to other people for that. You be that person for you and then easily for other people, because then you're just standing in your true self, because you are a beautiful divine being. And it's time that you stepped into your power, kings and queens, and recognized your worth, stepped into your confidence, asserted your boundaries, and get and do what you really want out of this life. It's quite possible. I get to make people feel even more comfortable in their skin by creating beautiful tattoos and designs for them. And I get to sit here and paint and color mushrooms and chat with you guys on a Thursday night. And there's fucking glitter in it too, so how much better can that get? You already know me. You know I love my glitter. If my skin could be purple glitter, I'd be there. I'd be first in the chair for the skin transplant. Ooh, that sounded horrible. Fucking John Wayne Gacy and shit. It ain't quite Halloween yet. See, isn't that fun? And I ain't even trying to do shit. I'm just doing it. Whether I end up liking it or not liking it, which I do like it because I'm just doing it, right? I'm not overthinking it. I'm not fucking judging myself the whole time. and telling myself that it looks like shit or it's gonna look like shit, or trying to rush the process, or thinking that it has to look perfect within the first 10 minutes that I'm doing it. It takes time and layering and patience, letting it dry, coming back to it. Maybe it starts to look funny and distorted, so you need to get the fuck up for a second and take a break and, you know, go eat some Twinkies or a Snickers or a banana, and then come back to it and look at it again with fresh eyes and realize that that shit looks dope as fuck. And you're right on track, and it looks just like you wanted it to, but you had been staring at it too long. So stop overworking, stop overthinking. And paint some mushrooms. So once I keep layering more of this, if you're on my, well, here or Instagram, doesn't matter, Facebook too, but the time-lapse-ish video that I posted of this guy earlier, you can kind of see some of the layering and some of the process, right? So I use some marker in there. I have some highlights with gesso. I mix some of the colors with gesso to add some of the stuff. So it didn't take forever to do, but it takes a little bit. And like I said, drying within the process in between the layers. So you can kind of see from that to that where I'll sharpen up some of the details. You know, obviously I'm not done with any of these guys, so I'll work on it for a bit more, and I'm gonna let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. If you have any questions, please let me know also. But like I said, before I stop recording, I'll check out if there's any comments, and if you guys do have questions, I'll do my best to answer them or whatever. I love how the color layers over the dried colors, and you can still see, like I said, some of the pattern and detail that's underneath from the dried one and layering on. And it looks really cool when you do it with, you know, whatever, moss, stone, rocks, water, natural stuff, unnatural stuff, whatever. It looks pretty cool. You want to draw some weird ass creature and have some lumps and bumps and different crevices and things on its back and on its face, then what are you going to use? Detail and texture, right? Right. So I've always wanted to sit down with like Brian Froud and paint with him and or draw with him. If you don't know who that is, he does the lovely fairy books. That if you've seen a fairy book, you've definitely seen one of his fairy books. And man, I just love it. It's so mesmerizing, and I listen to stories about fairies, and I've I think, yeah, it was the most recent one on a channel called Scary Fairy Godmother on YouTube. And it was talking about how the one lady's story that she, in a Brian Froud book, there was finally a rendition of a fairy that she saw that looked like the one that she had seen, which I think is so awesome. So maybe we'll add some little fairies in here sometime, have them hanging out in the mushroom garden. It's not quite a ring. I guess it could be if you're like standing above it and your perspective is like here, you know what I mean? And these are like in a, anyway. Yeah. Maybe I'll put some in the next one. I have a pink fairy painting that I haven't finished yet that I have, I think it's about halfway done, but it's sitting in my pile of in progresses back here behind me, so. Don't be afraid to move your hand fast either. And like I said, just experiment. Don't think it has to be perfect from get or, you know, at all. Like, keep in mind that you can do 12 of them. You don't have to just do the one and it has to be perfect, because that's how I was most of my life. Like, this is my only shot. You have to get it right now, this time. Like, no, bro. If you don't like it, draw it again. If you don't like it, draw it again. Alright, and then I should probably let this dry and get it wrapped up for tonight. But yeah, I use these markers to go over it, because if I do need to go back into it with paint or re-wet it, as long as I'm not like pushing down on the brush and just smashing water into it, they don't smear. This is the only marker that I have found that I've used when I'm painting that I can use it and it not smear when I go over it with my paint. So, and then I'll use a little gesso for highlights, and like I said, there's some shinies in here. I've got some metallic and pearlescent watercolors that are in there too that I'm using. So anything with the glitters, who knows, I might add some gold leaf in this one too, but let's see here. Let's see what we got. Are you bald? I'm not bald. No, I'm not. Hi guys, my day's going well. Thank you for asking. I just want to see if you had any questions. I just saw, am I bald? I'm not bald. I have purple dreadlocks actually. You can see them quite clearly on my other videos. But that's about it. I appreciate you guys being here. So far, this has taken me about an hour and 15 minutes to do. Just on here about an hour, and then I've had the background already painted a little bit. That took me about 15 minutes earlier. So that's about it so far. It will probably take me another hour. I'd say an hour to 2 hours to finish it, depending on how much detail and layers I want to put on it. But I appreciate you guys being here, and I hope to see you next time or in the other videos. And thank you. Have a great night.